what a poor way to end the season. That was just really, really poor. Thank God it was a dead rubber and we weren't in a position where we needed a result to keep us in the division. But even still, that performance was just really, really, really poor. I'll give a brief summary from my point of view. When you got a centre-back partnership of Collins and Kilman, both of them do not talk in the defensive position. You can clearly see that they don't have a clue where each other is on the pitch. And where both of the goals came from was from exactly them two not talking. The first two especially, just really, really, really poor goal to give away. But then we didn't learn as soon as we conceded it straight away. Second goal, Saka just completely took the piss. I mean, he just took the piss all game, to be honest with you. And we just, I don't know what it was. We just didn't, we were just on the beach. We just didn't really care. But that's all it is, really. We didn't show anything like a redeeming quality in our performance. It was just really, really poor. And that's all you can say. And that's pretty much summed up our season for the majority of it. The majority of the season, it's been poor. The bright spots have mainly come from Julian Lopetegui and his transfer policy, as well as, making certain players in the team a lot better. Even though you still look at the squad that we've got, 75% of that for me is still not good enough. And we do need a complete and utter rebuild. But then I said this last season, and then I also said that the season before, that we desperately needed a rebuild. And it's what now, the third year that we're saying it? And it doesn't really seem like we've progressed anywhere. All we've done is just sold, like 3 or 4 different players, and that's about it. And the players that we have bought in has either been a favour from George Mendes, or it's just from we're signing players in a position just for the sake of signing players in a position, because Fosun completely neglected the squad for God knows how many years. And when they have made the signings, it has been not when the managers actually wanted them. The managers before previously, whether it was Nuno, Bruno, and now Lopetegui, are all saying that they need these players in before July the 1st, when the start of the pre-season. And we just don't seem to really provide promises towards managers every single time in that position. Fosun have broken promises towards the management. Why do you think that's now going to change? Just Lopetegui is an unbelievable manager, and he's someone that you 100% should be backing, because he's got the potential to do something special and do something than what Nuno did previously at the football club. And it just seems like Fosun are not willing to put the money in and just keep saying it's financial issues. We've had these supposed financial issues for the last God knows how many years now. And it just seems like when they do actually put the money in, they're just putting in money for the sake of it. And like the recruitment has just been, well, borderline embarrassing. The only time the recruitment was quite good was in the January period. And even still, that was only because we had to make signings. And that's the only reason why Fosun care. Is if they have to make signings to keep us in the division, then they're not going to do it. They're just content with us just getting in the Premier League money, staying in mid-table year after year, when Lopetegui has got a clear plan that he clearly wants to improve this football club and move us as high up as possible. Fosun are just happy to content with mid-table year on year because they're going to get the Premier League money in. And as a fan, it's just not really that good. It's just not good enough, really. You want at least a clear vision and a clear path, and Lopetegui's got that. And the fact he's come out in the press now and saying that we can't sign players because we can't afford them, I mean, that is an absolute crisis, and even we still don't know if he's going to be staying or not. Because for me, what the worry is, we go down the George Mendes route, what we usually tend to do, get a cheap manager in who is not that good, who's nowhere near the level, because I don't think there's many managers out there of the calibre of Julian Lopetegui if he goes. And then we end up in a very similar position to what Everton, Leeds and Leicester were today. That very, very easily could be going down that path if we, actually rebuild the squad, give everything that Julian Lopetegui wants, and then you can start building from there. But it's fine because the season tickets have been increased, with still no certainty of the manager being there. But, that's the most important thing. Fosun are really trying to help the supporters out by, increasing them year on year. The only team in the Premier League that does that year after year after year. I'm just really, really concerned. And I think concern's a bit of an understatement. This season's been awful. Lopetegui's been the a shining light, as well as a few as well as the signings that he's made. Matt Hobbs coming in, a replacement of the full physio team. The negatives are everything else. Get rid of Jimenez's, your Pedences, Matinho, who we know is already going. Get rid of those type of players. It's time to get rid of the sentimental value that Wolverhampton Wanderers have had for God knows how long, and really start to push. But I cannot see it doing that under this current regime and ownership. Right, that's me out for another year. I'll see you next season. Cheers, lads.
Well, Arsenal 5, Wolves 0, and that was about as a one-sided game as you could possibly get. Not quite sure what was worse, that or the Brighton game really, but both very similar. Arsenal clearly a good side, don't finish second in the league for nothing. We just never got going. Absolutely awful. Didn't start the game well, 2-0 down within 15 minutes. I can't remember us having a single shot. The stats would say otherwise, and apparently we had a few, but I don't really remember us having a shot at all, to be honest. We barely even crossed the halfway line. And when we did, particularly second half, they gave the ball to Adama and Jimenez and said, yeah, see what you can do, lads, and we'll give you no support whatsoever. But I think one thing that was clear today was that Dawson coming in absolutely saved our season, really. Organisation at the back that he brings, that bit of experience, that bit of leadership, none of that today. Kilman and Collins started as the back two, just didn't look like they knew what they were doing at all over the place, no defending, didn't deal with the runners, didn't deal with the balls over the top, didn't deal with anything, frankly. Bueno had an absolute shocker. Again, Saka's a good player, but just ran rings round him. He went off at half-time, replaced by Aït-Nouri, who, to be fair, didn't really deal with him much better, although did get forward a little bit better, but gave the ball away too easily at times, which was a feature of the whole team, really. But Bueno had an absolute shocker in the first half there. Saka just going past him every time he got the opportunity. Semedo was okay on the right. I think he comes on for a bit of unfair criticism sometimes. The only thing I would say is at least he tried to get forward. Not really sure why Lopetegui decided to go 5 at the back as soon as we went 2-0 down. He did the same at Brighton. He's done the same a few times this season. Start losing, then goes to a back 5 with Lamina the middle of the 3 centre halves. Not really sure why he does that. I think if you think 5's the better option, do it from the start with 3 centre halves. At 2-0 down, you may as well just go for it. And that really was the most disappointing thing today. At no point did we really go for it. Jimenez up front, didn't really have an issue with him, if I'm honest. Never got the ball, wasn't his fault. Just nothing really came through. When he did get the ball, he did okay. Similarly with Adama, took his man on a couple of times, made a good sort of decent couple of runs. There was a couple of decent balls in the box. But again, Jimenez the only man in there. I was impressed by Hwang today. I thought first half, ran his socks off, had a couple of good touches, ran past a couple of blokes, won a good free kick on the edge of the box. So I'm not his biggest fan by any stretch, but actually I thought he had a good game today, to be fair, before he was replaced in the second half. Just a nothing game, really. And I think really that game sums up Wolves on the road. 2 wins all season. Just tepid at best. It's just terrible, really. I think I saw on Twitter somebody had worked out the price per away goal this season. It was 40 something quid, and I worked out, I think it's best part of almost £300 per win in the price of away tickets so far this season. So yeah, money well spent with train and travel and food and drink and everything else on top. Paid an absolute fortune to watch Wolves basically do next to nothing in pretty much every away game this season. So yeah, disappointing. So pretty poor end to a pretty poor season, really. Lopetegui, for me, needs to make his mind up whether he's staying or going, and needs to come out with it pretty sharpish. Don't get me wrong, very, very good manager. Done wonders for us this season. Brought in the right players at the right time. But all this talk in the press about, oh, well, I've got a contract, but it's football, anything can happen and all this. He's been saying all season he only wants players that want to be and want to fight. Well, then let's see that he wants to be here and wants to fight. And I saw a report today, I think he came out and said, we'd like to re-sign some players, but we don't have the budget. I don't understand that at all. Especially if you're re-signing players on the same wages they're on, there's no difference in the cost whatsoever. And we know some players are leaving, so the cost, the wage bill is going to be down anyway, obviously before new players coming in. Don't quite understand that one. Potentially maybe some players want some more money. But again, it can't be that much. As far as I'm aware, we're not absolutely broke. And it's the same every season. And to be honest, I'm getting a little bit sick of it, wheeling out the financial fair play line. First of all, it was because of Europe, and that's why we couldn't spend any money. Now it just seems to be we haven't got any, although Fosun are absolutely minted. And as a club, we seem to be doing okay. I know we've made some duff signings, but equally there's going to be some outgoings this year, which will bring some money in, particularly on a financial fair play perspective. Obviously, with players going out, adding far more in than players going out players coming in take up. So I don't quite understand it, if I'm honest. I can't quite work out from Lopetegui if it's a genuine concern and he's actually concerned for the club, and that's why he's making these comments just to try and get a bit more money out of them, or if he's trying to angle for a move somewhere. But I don't know. Time will tell, obviously, and we'll wait and see. But to be honest, I'm quite glad the season's over. It's been a long slog of a season. I don't think the World Cup in the middle helped. Obviously, definitely not helped by the fact that we've been atrocious for most of it. But we stayed up. That was the main thing. I'd have bit your hand off for this at Christmas. So, stayed up. Fair enough. Last 3 away games, 3 losses, 13 goals conceded, none scored. I think we've definitely conceded more goals in those 3 games than we've had shots on target, which about sums us up. But let's hope for a good summer. Onwards and upwards. See you on the other side.
It's finished Wolves 0, Arsenal 5. I ain't going to talk much about the game. I don't need to. All the proof's in the pudding of what we're seeing on the pitch at the moment. I think the things that I'm going to talk about today specifically is the players that are playing. Some of them I really never want to see kind of in the team again. I think some of them we could really do with shipping off to wherever, getting a couple of quid for them, because that's pretty much all they're worth. Some of the embarrassment that we've been given today, once again, it's just, they get their first and second goal, making Granit Xhaka look like fucking Haaland. And then we crumble. Dawson, big miss. You can just see that straight away. You put Collins and Kilman together, like fucking thing 1 and thing 2. There's no cohesion between the pair of them. I thought they were both dreadful today, especially Kilman. Semedo's gone walkabouts again. Bueno got turned into a fucking chocolate bar. One of the worst performances from a goalie I've seen. He's lucky to get the nudge in the back off Ben White, and then Partey knocked it in. What on earth he's doing for their 5th goal is beyond me. How your goalkeeper can't even use his hands. He's really worrying. Luckily for Wolves, we stayed up with 3 games remaining. How we've done it is beyond me. I think we've been lucky. The fact that there are 3 worse teams than us. But this club, the whole club, needs gutting. It really does. Like, I really would not mind seeing 8 or 9 of them leave. Just off the top of my head, I wouldn't. Sarr can go, Kilman can go. I'll not necessarily want Neves to go, but I'd like him to go now because I think he deserves to go, and we get some money for him. Like Podence, Neto, Raul, Ait Nuri, Johnny. All these people can go for me. They haven't been good enough. The whole team hasn't been good enough. We've been dragged through the second half of the season through some brilliance from a couple of players that we brought in January. Especially, Dawson and Lamina, who to be fair to Lamina today, I thought was probably our best player. Once he'd be slotted into a back 5. was quite intrigued to see the lineup to start with, but then realised as soon as we're playing a 4-3-3, we weren't going to do anything. Once again today, we've not had a shot on target, I don't think. Plenty of balls into the box, but nothing coming of it. And that's been Wolves' problem all season, not scoring enough goals. 31 goals for the whole season. It's embarrassing when one striker in one football team has still another, in all comps, it's frightening. He's got another 10, 15 on us in all comps as a whole team that we've got. So it's a big problem for Wolves. It's not great, the news that we've been having this week with the manager not certain on what he wants to do with Wolves, if he wants to stay, if he wants to go. It's worrying the fact that we've got what seems like we've got no money to spend. If that is the case, then we're in deep trouble next season. I think gutting the team will help slightly, that we can get a few hungry young players in. I watched that Gokares from Coventry yesterday, and I've seen a lot of people slating him, saying he's not even worth £5, let alone 25 million. But if you look at previous games and him on the ball, and even in the second half of the game in the final, he looked really sharp. And then Alex Scott speak for himself. So there's two players that we should just be looking to sign right now. The season's over. Why are we not calling these people up and saying come and play for Wolves? Part of that might be because they don't want to, which is fair enough. But yeah, so it's going to be an interesting summer. I actually can't think of most of their goals today because it was all just a big blur. I'm sure a lot of the Wolves fans that have gone down there today will feel really pissed off, angry. Yeah, it's a nice day in the sun. Piss up with your mates and stuff, but it's still 150 quid day to get there and back, match ticket, drinks, food, whatever. It's looking like an expensive day out, and then for that performance to come out again is very much like the Brighton game. So we need some serious improvements, and those improvements need to happen sooner rather than later. Clubs are moving now. Brighton have signed a couple of players. These clubs in and around where we should be are signing players and getting players in ready for next season already. And Julian's even said if he does stay, he wants his team ready in, first of July or whenever we come back for pre-season. I can't really see that happening. If I'm honest, we'll probably still be scraping around in August for players, but hopefully that things can change in the time of finishing the season and giving the lads a bit of a break, and then we can really start looking at the squad and start to gut the players out of it. So overall, my end thought towards the season is I think we've been just about okay enough to stay up in the second half of the season. I think in some games where we needed to show fight and grit, we have, and we managed to get some points on the board, and ultimately it's kept us up for another season. But if we play this way next season, we do go down. There is no doubt about that. So the work really needs to start now. It's a big summer ahead for Wolves, so we'll see how we get on. Cheers for me on this season, boys. See you next season.
So it's finally over. A long, tiresome, difficult at times for most of the time to watch this season for Wolves. We finished at the Emirates taking another thumping away from home. No surprises there. To be honest, I have to be frank with you. I stopped watching after 2 because I had a feeling what was coming after see Xhaka score twice. That was kind of the final straw for me. I thought the Everton-Bournemouth game would be a more kind of thrilling affair with all that was on the line, and it turns out it was. So I'm kind of glad I made that decision. There won't be a huge amount of match analysis from this game, but there isn't much to say. I think it was, by all accounts, from tweets that I've read, from reviews from other people, Dave, of course, it turns out to be, once again, a bit of a shambles away from home. It's not something that, it is something that's occurred multiple times this season. Had it not be for our home form over recent months, we would almost definitely be spending that final day biting our nails at the prospect of relegation back to the Championship. And I think a lot of the performances that we've seen this season warrant relegation to the Championship. I'm not going to be too positive. I think I've had a lot of the positivity's kind of been drained from me recently, because I feel like ever since our safety was confirmed, the players have been nothing short of embarrassing. Just awful from the majority, 80-90% of the squad. I have to be honest. They're on the beach. They look like they couldn't care less. There's 75-80% of that squad that needs completely gutting out, and I want to see it done quickly. Although it feels like a tall order with Lopetegui's cryptic messages in post-match press conferences, which seem to be rubbing me the wrong way, to be honest. I don't really know how to take them. I'm not sure anyone knows how to interpret these messages that he's given out. He's obviously calling for money, he's calling for investment, which is one thing, but then I've seen another thing today that said that we can't even re-sign players. They're running out of contract. I didn't realise we were in such a financially kind of restricted position. I don't know how it's come about. I'm not sure what Fosun kind of have been up to behind the scenes, but the money's run thin. The squad's running thin. They are lower to Championship level players, the majority of them. I thought, for as much as I watched them, a lot of the opinions I've seen on Twitter, Jose Sarr needs going. I think if you get anything more than 8 or 9 million that we may have spent on him, that's a steal, to be honest. We need a new goalkeeper. I think Hillman, overrated, nowhere near quality that we need to be pushed into the places that are kind of the lads down the road have got to today, Villa. I think we need a new centre-back, so if you can get a decent 15-20 million for him, you take it and you run. Collins, poor. Semedo, at times it was okay, but, poor. Bueno got ran ragged by Saka. New left-back needed. I'd say new right-back, but yeah, Semedo's going to need some competition. Overall, it was an absolute shocker. It was a shocker. And, Lopetegui thrown in Jimenez for sentiment value. I hope all the people who were, saw him crying are happy, because that was a complete waste of time. He was shocking as well. What can you say? That performance was a kind of a microcosm of the majority of our season. It's been so hard fought. It's been so boring. And now, usually when you come to the end of, this point of the season, you're hoping for a bit of, something to be positive about, something to look forward to, pre-season to look forward to. Lopetegui's got his ideas at hand. Lopetegui doesn't even look like he wants to be here anymore. He's been here a matter of months, wants to go already. He's had offers, well, we don't know about that, but unconfirmed offers from Spurs and things like that. Ultimately, anyone's a more attractive prospect than us. Luton's a more attractive prospect than us. Someone in the Championship fighting for playoffs next year, a more attractive prospect than us. We look like we're only going one way, and if these problems aren't sorted quickly enough, we're going to be in the shit next season. I think we were lucky. I think we were lucky this season. It's been really difficult to watch, but I think ultimately we were lucky that we weren't there today. Final day at the Emirates, praying for results to go our way. God knows how we've done it. Minus 23 goal difference, I think our goal difference is, and we've come 13th. Put a tweet about it earlier. It's criminal. The amount of goals that we've shipped for absolutely no reason. Leeds, Brighton, Leicester, and today. Arsenal were good, but don't get me wrong. Come on. We've given them about 3 or 4 of them. Jose Sarr for the last goal. It just pushed me over the line. I watched the highlight of it. I was like, I'm so glad I wasn't watching. But we're back in the Premier League for another season. Yippee. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, thanks for all the support on the channel. Big thanks to Dave and Matt for having me on for the season. I will be here next season, providing the football isn't too difficult to watch. But yeah, big thanks to those two for having me on for this season. Big thanks to all of you watching. And yeah, up the Wolves, I guess.